Probably, yeah. Say that today we'll try after feedbacks. We want to slightly change the format.
Okay, sorry, Dr. Lee, we're live at the moment, so I'm just going to make my announcement and then you can say that afterwards. Yeah, is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you once again for logging in on another series of the African Reform Movement. This is the channel where we speak all things Africa reform with the expert, Dr. Darko. My name is Uche, and I'm going to be your host for today. So, just before we start, just going to do some housekeeping. These are all Dr. Nee's social media handles, so please follow him there. Please do subscribe to the African Reform Movement's YouTube channel, because when you subscribe or when you like, when you comment on there, it raises the channel in YouTube's algorithm, and they'll be able to start pushing us into other people's spaces. So please feel free to follow us on there. Also, if you have any questions with regards to today's show, please send all questions via our chat function on the live stream. So all questions should be sent via our live stream chat function, and I'll be able to ask them to Dr. Nee in real time. Okay, so thank you for that. Now, today we're going to be talking about good governance. What is good governance and what will that look like in Africa? Dr. Nee has thought about this extensively and has written a few papers on it, and is going to be sharing some of that information with us today. It's very, very powerful stuff, so please pay attention. And like I said, any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll post them to Dr. Nee in real time. Okay, so Dr. Nee, start taking us through this, please. What is good governance, and where do you get your model from? What inspired your model?
The number one person who inspired my model was a gentleman called Jethro. And actually, before I even go into that, I want to pay tribute to one particular person by name Paul Getty or Ebenezer Nunu. Paul Getty is my cousin, my senior cousin, actually. When we finished A-levels and I came home, that was in 1986. Next month will be 35 years. Wow. He gave me 3 books to read. I don't know up to today why he gave me those books. He gave me a book by Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Then he gave me a book, Song of Abraham by Ellen Trailer. And then the third book was Exodus by Leon Uris. I have bought my own copy of Walter Rodney, but I haven't seen the Song of Abraham and Exodus again, ever, since 1986.
Wow.
When I read those books, I was a 19-year-old boy, just after 6'4". When I read those books, my understanding of the world changed completely. My understanding of the real world changed completely. Walter Rodney made me understand how the world system works. And Song of Abraham about Abraham, talking about faith, the evidence of things, the substance of evidence of things not seen. Faith. How can you have evidence of something that you haven't seen? But Abraham made me believe that. That Song of Abraham made me go back to Genesis, and I read the whole of Genesis to have a full understanding of Abraham. And then Exodus by Leon Uris also made me understand Jewish history. And actually, I went back to read the whole of Exodus. But when I read Exodus, the hero I found in Exodus was not a Jew. It wasn't a Jew. It was a Midianite. It was a Cushite person. It was a black man. His name was Jethro. His real name was Rio, but the Jews called him Jethro because Jethro means His Excellence. When you see that they are calling people presidents, Your Excellency, Your Excellency, it was Jethro who was given that name first in recorded history. Jethro caught my attention in Exodus chapter 18.
Okay, so let's go there. Let's go see.
He became the model. Now, when Moses ran away from Egypt from Pharaoh at the age of 40, he took refuge in Jethro's house, and he married Jethro's daughter called Zipporah, and they had 2 sons. From chapter 18, he realized that when Moses returned to Egypt to liberate the Jews, he sent his wife and children back. So once in the wilderness, Jethro took his daughter and grandchildren to Father Moses. And that's where everything unraveled. So now when I say Afremocracy is God's own system of government, this is where I got it from. Yes, I've probably modernized it, I've probably popularized it, but I didn't start it. It started 3,500 years ago. So let's see what happened. So it was on the next. So look, if you have your Bible, you can open your Bible. And let me say again, this is not religion. This is politics. This is good governance. Good governance. Because Uche asked me, what is good governance? We'll see good governance here. And so it was on the next day that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood before Moses from morning until evening. So when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did for the people, he said, "What is this thing that you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit and all the people stand before you from morning until evening?" And Moses said this to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a difficulty, they come to me, and I judge between one and another, and I make known the statutes of God and his laws." So Moses was a Santa president. Now, this scenario is exactly the scenario we found all across post-colonial Africa. The president or the head of state became the state. The head of state had all the power, and everybody had to stand around him, sycophants and whatever, and he had to do everything. This is exactly what happened when Africa became independent.
Okay.
There was no other form of governance except this. And of course, we'll see what happened. Next slide. So Moses' father-in-law said to him, "The thing that you do is not good. Both you and these people who are with you will surely wear yourselves out. For this thing is too much for you. You are not able to perform it by yourself." You see, there is a human weakness here. Sometimes founding leaders believe they are the Alpha and the Omega. In fact, they even believe they are, some even believe they are divine. But here, they forget that every human being has got limitation. We can want to do all that you want to do, but you just can't, because you cannot even extend the day by a second. The day is 24 hours. And you can do so much in 24 hours. Now, like I've always said, so far as I'm concerned, politics is how a people organize themselves for their own development and prosperity. So now, if one person decides that he's going to organize everybody, he's going to do everything for everybody, how would that work? Here we have Moses, the man who talked to God face to face, but did not have the basic common sense to know that what he was doing was not sustainable. He couldn't do it because somehow when you have that power, I don't know whether something comes onto you that without you, nothing can work. But here came an ordinary priest of Midian. He has not been in government before, he has not ruled anybody before, but he saw it clearly that this was not sustainable. And he was bold, and he was direct, and he was truthful. Sometimes, oh, nee, you can't say this way. Somebody, no, nobody will be offended. He told Moses, the thing you are doing is not good. You are going to destroy yourself and these people with you. Next slide.
Okay.
So after he told Moses that what he was doing was not good, he did not only criticize his son-in-law, but he gave him the way forward. And here is the first command. Here is the first. Before Moses received the 10 commandments from God, he had received some from Jethro already. This was the first commandment. Listen to my voice. I will give you counsel, and God be with you. Stand before God for the people, so that you may bring the difficulties to God. And you shall teach them the statutes and the laws, and show them the way in which they must walk and the work they must do. First, to start a state, you must have a set of laws, rules, and regulations. He told Moses to write a constitution. Before then, there was no plan. Moses sat down and people would come from everywhere. The man who opened the Red Sea, he didn't know. He was drooling saliva big time. He didn't know what to do. I said, no, you don't do it that way. Write a book of rules and regulations, statutes, what you must do, what you must not do, what you must work, or the way you must work. Do this. Next slide, please. Moreover, you shall select from the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. Now he said, after writing the constitution, now you have to have leaders, but not everybody. He gave Moses selection criteria for leadership. You just don't get up to become a leader. You must show some things. There must be some things about you that should qualify you to leadership positions. Even in primary schools, not everybody was made a prefect, let alone senior prefect. There were criteria they used to select people into leadership, even in primary school. But today in Ghana, anybody can decide they want to be president. Anybody. But in primary school, it wasn't like that.
So there's no criteria for whether or not you want to become a president. You can just decide you want to become a president and that's it. There's no criteria really.
If you have 40 years or more and you're a Ghanaian by birth and you have no criminal record, hooray! You can become a president. You can stand for a presidency. The same applies to anything. But here, 3,500 years ago, somebody advised the man who opened the Red Sea. Somebody advised the man who brought the 10 Commandments. Somebody advised the man who spoke with God that his face was so shining that the Jews could not even look at his face. Then, first of all, you have a selection criteria. You see, if people want to govern themselves properly, then they must organize themselves in such a way that that governance will work.
Yes.
Yes, and that's what politics are. You ask me what is good governance, so I'm not telling you what happened 3,500 years ago that seems to have eluded us today.
Yeah.
Commandment 2, selection criteria for leadership. Then not only that, but he said that if you want to build an egalitarian society, a fair state, which was I say I want to build in Ghana as an example for the role of Africa. If you want to build a fair state, then that state must be based on population, not ethnicity. Because Jethro knew that there were 12 tribes of Israel. Moses himself came from the tribe of Levi. But he did not tell Moses to organize the people according to their tribes. Because he knew in his mind that some of the tribes are bigger than others. So if you do it that way, then it is not fair. But you use numbers so that you decide that you have region of 1,000 people, you have district of 100 people, you have constituency of 50 people, and you have wards of 10 people. So that every 1,000 people will have one leader. And that is fair. So now, when we come to Afremocracy, and I say that the state, for any community to become a state, it must have 8 to 10% of the population. I know what I'm talking about. I got it from here. It has to be based on number, not ethnicity. And that is why Nigeria started with, I think, 12 or so states. Now they are 36, because every ethnic group wants its own state.
Yeah.
And Ghana, that little Ghana there, one person came and just decided to divide Ghana according to ethnicities. Now we have 16 regions, dysfunctional regions. When we have 8 to 10% of the population forming a state, nobody can manipulate, because if you are not 8%, you cannot be a state. If you are not 10%, you cannot be a state. It's as simple as that. And this is what Jethro told Moses, the greatest prophet of Israel. He came to teach him this basic thing, that no, that's not the way to do it. If you want to form a region, you must have this number of people. If you want to form a district, you must have this number of people. If you want to form a constituency, you must have this number of people. If you want to form a ward, you must have this number of people. That is the basis of a fair state. Then, within there is proportional representation. We are not going to live in a state like Ghana. In the last elections, one constituency had 180,000 voters. Another constituency had only 18,000 voters. So it's not equal representation.
That's right, yeah.
One group has got 1/10 people to take care of as the other group. So when I start saying that the best way to have fair representation in Ghana politics is to have proportional representation in our parliament, this is where I got it from.
Okay.
So that after the elections, and we say that we're going to have 100 members of parliament, not 200, not 275, not 90. We don't need more than 100 members of parliament. Now, what it means is that 1% is one member of parliament. So if a region has 10% of the electorate or the voters, that region will have 10 people in parliament. If a region has,
Can I just ask you something though? Yeah, but you see with the example here, wasn't this more with regards to the ability of the people to be able to care for that number as opposed to anything else? So how is it?
You realize down there that he told Moses that then when you do this, they will share the burden with you. Let them judge the people at all times. We'll be coming there shortly.
Okay.
So it's about governance. It's about having a system where every group of people, or a certain number of group of people, will have one leader. It was creating a structure, top to bottom, that you and Aaron, Eke, and Joshua and Caleb, you are the national level, okay? But under you form structures of thousands, hundreds, 50s, 10s to look at those level of people. And then when there's a big issue, they can bring that problem to the national level. But at all times, let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
And let them judge the people at all times. You see what I'm talking about? Let them judge the people at all times. Then it will be that every great matter they shall bring to you. But every small matter, they themselves shall judge. So it will be easier for you, for they will bear the burden with you. So it was giving him a workable, a functional system that what you are doing is not sustainable. But in your midst, pick able men, those who fear God, those who are not covetous, those who are this, those who are not this, and let them be leaders of this cascade of structure. Thousands and hundreds and fifties and tens. And they will solve the problem at those their levels. The big ones, they will bring to the national cabinet.
Okay.
So now, autonomy to govern the people at all times. Autonomy to govern the people. That's what they call federalism. Autonomy to govern the people at all times. Not part of the time. So then within the state, you have a state parliament with people there to govern the people all the time.
Okay.
Now, in the midst of when I'm talking about economic federalism, that we are going to build states based on population or labor force, this is where I got it from. It was Jethro advising the greatest prophet of Israel, the man who talked to God face to face, who was lost in the wilderness. God sent him to come and talk to Moses, to teach Moses basic common sense, basic good governance. We are talking about good governance here.
Okay.
Now, spheres of influence. This is one thing I describe in Afremocracy. That you see, it says that it will be that every great matter they shall bring to you, but every small matter they themselves shall judge. You have to create, that's how you organize yourself for development and prosperity. Jethro was teaching Moses how to organize his boat to be effective so that they could develop and prosper. And that's why in Afremocracy, at the state level, the state government will look at the core issues: health, education, law and order, power and water, agri and industry, and then housing, infrastructure, and transport. These are the things that people need at the local level. These are the small things they have to do for themselves. And then when it comes to defense, foreign affairs, mining, international trade, and the big things, they are done by the Moses group in the national capital. So we have two spheres of influence, one for national government and one for state government. And this is what somebody, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but for something like housing and transportation, but I'll just take housing specifically, that can become a national issue. That can become like something like a crisis level.
Yes, you see, once we go through, you see where when we get to the point of Council of State, then you see how these things will link up with themselves. Because at the Council of State, I don't want to go ahead of myself, but we'll get there. Okay. Yes. Now, these things, when we say spheres of influence, the funding and stuff like that will come from somewhere. There has to be national planning. Okay, then we have the national planning. And national planning will take place at the Council of State. So yeah, that's what I said in Council of State. You see, what the Council of States will mean is that at certain times of the year, all the leaders will come together to the national capital to meet Moses and his group. And then they will bring their problems, their big problems. They will sit down and solve the problem holistically. The current Council of State we have in Ghana is an absolute joke, because majority of the people are actually appointed by the president. It's the biggest joke on planet Earth. I mean, for them to be advising the president who appointed them, how is that going to work in African scenario? So it's a completely useless rubber stamp body. We are talking of Council of State where leaders of the thousands and hundreds and stuff like that, they will come and meet the national executive. They will meet together and say, okay, look, we have this big problem, we have this. They can decide to meet once a month, or they can meet every 3 months, or whatever. That has to be fashioned out. But the principle is that they cannot solve all problems. So they have to bring the big problem. That's the nature. You plan. That's how you organize yourself. There are no hard and fast rules, but the principle must be that some people must have the power to govern themselves all the time. And they must have the power to do the basic things for themselves. And then they must have the opportunity to meet with potential government to discuss hard issues. That is what somebody told Moses 3,500 years ago. And that's what we don't understand today. So the Council of State, that's the way it's going to look like. We call it Ghana Manshiamu, the military of the Ghana State Council, where you have people from the national executive and from state governments and from other people. That would be a whole discussion when we get to. But this is just to tell people where the idea came from.
Okay.
As a matter.
Sorry, Doctor, we just got 4 minutes left.
What?
So do you want to
let's
quickly go through the other slides, or do you? Yeah, just got 4 minutes. Okay.
If you do this thing and God so commands you, then you'll be able to endure. And all these people will also go to their place in peace. So first of all, he did not impose it on Moses. He asked Moses to, in all the things you do, acknowledge God or defer to God. And he will make your paths straight. Then he went to say that systems matter. One of the things we learn here is that systems matter. You see, society is equal to man and the rules man put in place to govern himself. So systems matter. Yeah, we have seen how the system of Jethro was designed to work. And up to today, Israel is still using proportional representation in their parliament. Systems matter. He told Moses, what you are doing is rubbish. You need to have a system that will work. The painful thing is this. Most people have never heard of Jethro before. Most people think that Israel was built by Moses and Aaron, his older brother. No. Functional Israel was built by this man. And this man was an African. All right, next slide. So Moses heeded the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. And Moses chose men able, you can read the rest. So they judged the people at all times. The hard cases they brought to Moses, but they judged every small case themselves. Moses did accordingly. What that means is that God accepted Jethro's proposals. And that's why I'm saying that Afremocracy is God's own system of government. When Moses presented the proposals to God, that this is what my father-in-law has said, God said, that is it. Do as he has told you. Afremocracy is God's own system of government. There is no argument about that. Now, here we are. That God, 3,000 he delivered the people of Israel from Egypt. But he didn't tell Moses how to govern, because governance is man's work. God delivers, man governs. But God realized that Moses was just misbehaving. He didn't know what to do. And he wasn't going to come down, because Moses must not be a zombie. He sent somebody that he knew Moses would listen to. Because Moses had lived with this man for 40 years, and Moses knew his capabilities. So he came there and he gave Moses advice, and Moses put the advice across to God, and God said, go on, my son. Go on, my son. God accepted Jethro's proposal, and that's what has made Israel great up to today. Now, they haven't told you, so you don't know. Jethro was ahead of Plato for 1,000 years. And they will say that Plato is the father of this, father of that. No, it's Jethro, whose real name was Ruel. Jethro means Your Excellency, because he was an excellent man. And then what happened? Then Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went to his own, he went his way to his own land. He finished his job, and he went to his own land. Now, before I go, I want to tell you who Jethro was. Can you please put the next slide up?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have it there.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. So yes, let's use Ghana as an example. Post-colonial Africa. Nkrumah and his Jethro. God is forever consistent, right? He is. He gave foreigner Jethro to Moses. Moses accepted him. He gave foreigner Noche to accepted him. He gave foreigner Shegora to Casio accepted him. He gave foreigner Atalus to Nkrumah did not accept him. Whereas Jethro went home in peace, Atalus had to run away 14 months into 21 contract with the UN to help Ghana transit from a colonial economy to a modern one. Those who accepted the foreigners, the record is there. And those who did not accept the foreigners, the record is there. I can't elaborate much. So who was Jethro? Do you have the next slide?
This was it. This is all there was.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So if you have your Bibles with you, turn to Genesis 25, 1 to 3. Basically, here it says that Abraham took another wife by name Keturah. And Keturah, he had 6 children. One of the children was called Midian. So the Midianites were children of Abraham with Keturah. And one of the children of Keturah, I think Joshkan had a son. And the name of that son was what? Sheba, or Ethiopia. Oh, the screen is gone. All right. Hello?
Yes, yeah.
You're back. You're back. Now, when you read Genesis 25, 1 to 3, you see the 6 children of Abraham with Keturah. One of them was Midian. And one of the other, Midian's brother was, I think, Joshkan. Joshkan had a son whose name was Sheba. Do you remember Queen of Sheba? Sheba means Ethiopia. Sheba means Ethiopia. Ethiopia or Sheba was a nephew of Midian. Now, when you read Numbers chapter 12, verse 1, Miriam, Moses' older sister, criticized Moses for marrying an Ethiopian. So that's the reason why they called Zipporah an Ethiopian, because Zipporah was the daughter of Jethro, whose nephew was Sheba, Ethiopian. You see, and God was very upset. This is what happened. When Moses went back to Egypt, he did not go with his family. So they did not know who he had married. But when the father-in-law Jethro brought Zipporah and his 2 children, then they realized that their brother had married an Ethiopian. So when I say that I did not start Afremocracy, democracy brewed in African port was started by Jethro.
African man.
Yes, he was an African man. And that's why you don't know about him. Because if you know about Jethro, you know that you are not stupid after all. But our people have decided that they will go with another narrative. They don't even know that Abraham had 6 children with an African woman. He had 8 children. 6 out of 8 was with an African woman. And that's why when people say, oh, I don't want the Bible, you are stupid to say that. Because you see the Bible as a book of religion, when actually it is not a book of religion. It's a book of lives. And through those lives, you can decide that I want to form my life after Joseph, or after David, or after Absalom, or after Solomon. It is the will of God expressed through the lives of people. So we could learn from them and live a more productive and peaceful life. I think I'll have to take this thing one by one. I'll tell you how Jethroism informed my national cabinet, informed my national parliament, informed the judiciary. From this chapter, you see that this man had an idea of what good governance should look like. Had an idea of what good governance. So, Uche, when you ask about good governance, this way it starts from what? Structure. But the structure itself must be led by good leaders, people who fear God, people, you can use whatever, people who know what they want, who know what they want in life, people who have learned, who have studied, who can deliver good judgment and good governance for the people. It cannot be for everybody. It cannot be for everybody. We must have a selection. We must have, and that is what will come in my next book, Fuck a Fuck. But this is where the principles came from. I mean, most of the principles came from.
Okay.
From Jethro. Afremocracy, democracy in the African port, was born 3,500 years ago. And God accepted it as the way forward for his own people.
Okay.
That is God's own system of government.
Well, Dr. Nnoka, thank you so much. We've gone way over time, so 36 minutes now, so I'll just stop it here. But thank you so much for that. If you do have any further questions on this, like get some more information on this, please connect with Dr. Nnoka on any one of his social media handles at the bottom there. Don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel, The African Reform Movement, and he'll be happy to speak to you there as well. But once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And once again, Dr. Nnoka, thank you for really sharing your well thought out, well informed wisdom with regard to the way forward for not only Ghana, but Africa as a continent. Much appreciated. I'm sure you're giving people a lot of food for thought, and they're hearing things they hadn't possibly even considered prior, and they're hearing some things for the very first time as well. So I deeply appreciate your wisdom.
Thank you very much, Uche. Thank you very, very much.
No problem. Once again, we'll be on again on Saturday at 12 noon also. So if you weren't able to watch today, we'll be taking another topic on Saturday at 12 noon GMT. That's British time. So we'll see you then. But as for now, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.